Hey Gems, I'm going to teach you how to upholster a chair. I decided to redo my vanity chair because Lord knows it needed some TLC. It looks like this. And well, you have to continue watching to find out if you want to see what it looks like. I'm TIERA LOVELLE and keep watching. So first thing you're going to do is lay it on a tarp so you can catch any dirt, debris, dust, paint, everything. So I laid it down on a nice canvas and so we're going to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually sand the chair. I'm going to sand it down and get rid of all the grooves and scuffs that are on it and make it smooth enough that when I put a new fresh coat of paint on it, you're not going to see too much markations and marks. Sand away, sand your chair, get it all nice and smooth and ready and prepped for when you're ready to paint. The next thing I'm going to do now is remove the fabric. Now that, this lovely yellow fabric, oh boy, that was a decision to make. Actually, it wasn't that bad when I first did it. But basically, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to try popping out the staples. I was trying to pull it out and see if I can get it, but it wasn't working. So I also tried just using tweezers and seeing if I can pull them out. But I did use industrial staples, so that's actually, they're quite too hard to pull out, but I did give it a shot and a try. Let's save yourself the time and get yourself the big boys, the bad boys, get yourself the big guns and get yourself pliers or staple remover. I used pliers. As you see, it's not a gun, but you know, pliers can work too. You know, it's handy. I think it'll work better than a gun anyways. Why am I talking about weapons? Okay, so now as I'm going to remove all of these out, it's going to be, that is like the most time-consuming task, tedious task, and strength-driven task. And you're thinking, why not just cut it off? You do not want to cut off that fabric because you're going to use that fabric later on as a guideline as to what you're going to need to trace out the rest of your fabric. So now that I removed everything and I wiped down the chair, it is now time to paint. I'm painting it simply, just painting it white so it can keep clean and bright. Well, it's probably not going to keep clean as white, but I want it to be bright still.
nothing can stop me. No. 'Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no better one. Yeah, susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So
As the paint is drying, I'm actually going to go ahead and start tracing out the guidelines of where I'm going to need to cut for the fabric. So that's where I'm going to lay down my new fabric and then lay the other one on top. I suggest use chalk. I bought chalk specifically for this DIY, but like most of my DIYs, they seem to disappear around the time that I need to use it. So I tried using a pencil. That did not work. So I used a Sharpie. I honestly suggest don't use a Sharpie. I did do it, but it does bleed through if you do cut it wrong. Luckily for this task, you are going to be folding the fabric, so if you do have any extra Sharpie marks, you're not going to see it. But just to be safe, I would say definitely just go with chalk and don't use a Sharpie or anything heavy and dense that can bleed through the fabric. Because say if you got it on the wrong side, say if you didn't cut it right, you can have a big problem.
so tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Yeah.
Now we're just going to go ahead and cut the fabric out.
Before the moment flies, so tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. It's not a problem, no, 'cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes. Yeah.
So now that I cut the fabric out, what I'm going to be doing next is basically fitting it on the actual chair now. I'm going to lay it over and see how it fits, see how it looks, make sure all the cuts and seams seem great. I'm going to play with it for a little bit, smooth it out, and make sure it is great before I start stapling. That is actually one of the most important pieces, that you want to make sure it fits.
I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell your good night.
Perfectly. You don't want to just put a piece up and then start stapling and then try stretching it and it doesn't work. You want to put it on, stretch it out, fold the ends, make sure it fits good and that you're not going to see the seams. So basically, as you see what I'm doing, I am folding the seams under so you don't see the rough edges of the actual fabric. So now what I'm going to do is start off with the back panel, and I'm going to staple that on just so you can't actually see that, all the marks and things like that when you are continuing. So that is the first piece we're going to do, is actually staple now the back panel on and make it fit and continue on that way. You want to staple the top and then the sides, and then so when you put the back flaps down and you fold them over, it looks more looks more seamless and it blends easier and better, that you're not going to have a bunch of rough edges showing. But again, it's all about pulling and stretching and folding and playing with the fabric in order for it to look smooth and look good.
So tell your good night, 'cause I'll buy no matter what, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good night, 'cause I'll buy no matter what. Ooh, susceptible now, before the moment flies.
Now basically I'm going to move on to the rest of the chair and just staple the ends down. You didn't see it in the clip, but I did staple a couple in the front first, and then I started stapling the rest so it stays down and stays steady in the right position, and then I started stapling because I don't want the front flap to not be long enough. But as you see, I'm just stapling along and folding, and basically folding and feeling it out to see how it's actually going to fit, and make sure you keep smoothing it out to make sure the lines in the chair is not going to be bubbling and like buckling. It's not going to be cute that way.
I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll buy no matter what, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll buy no matter what. Susceptible now.
Once I had all the pieces stapled and folded in and I smoothed up the top of the chair, I moved to the bottom of the chair, which is the legs. And on the legs, I wanted a bit of a statement because I do have a lot of black accents going in through my room, and it's not just white, so I decided to paint the base of the chair black. So I'm going to line it with some painter's tape, and then I'm going to paint it a nice black color that I painted on one of my drawers and dresses. You'll see in a different DIY. But yeah, so I just did that for a nice accent. I let that dry, and then I pulled off the tape.
Yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes, yeah. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
And so now, honestly, it was super simple, super easy to do. It seems a lot harder than it is. I think it's just you need to give yourself the time and the energy to do it. But now I have a great vanity chair, and I'm very happy with it. It's comfortable.
So tell your good night, 'cause I'll buy no matter what, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good.
That is the end of the video, guys. I hope you liked it. Now I have a great vanity chair that I personally I love, and it's comfortable. I made a little small cushion that I can sit on if I need to prop up a bit higher, or if I need a little extra back support. It's pretty in pink. It matches the accents in my room, and I'm fairly pleased with the way it turned out because the yellow did not match. Also, it was just time to fix. As you've seen, it was looking a little dingy. So yeah, I do have another video of a more complex chair that I reupholstered also. If you guys see it on my Instagram, you might have seen me take photos in it or next to it. In the background, it's a nice silver gray chair. It is a lot more intense than this one, but I definitely would say if you want to start off with upholstering a chair, do something that has a cushion to focus on, less of the full chair, because the full chairs take a lot more effort and work, and it's a little bit more intense. And I feel like when you get this type of chair down, you kind of have a guideline of what to expect for your upcoming chairs. And for any questions that people may have is why did I leave the cushion underneath? Originally when I reupholstered it, I noticed that I was trying to take it off and I noticed this chair is actually an antique chair. I didn't know. So if you've seen, you'll see that there was a bit of you'll see like what is it called, hay sticking out of it, and that is actually how chairs were stuffed back in the day. So they had springs like that and like hay, and as I was on upholstering I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I found out that it's an actual real antique chair. So that is why I left that on. Like I had to restaple it. It's not like, it's easier to work with if you just keep the base intact. So if you have a certain chair and it's a bit newer, you probably won't come encounter with that, and you can take off that that cushion. But if you have an antique chair, definitely keep the original fabric on and just work around it. So yes, I hope you guys liked the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you guys have ever upholstered anything, if you've ever tried it. Have you been scared to try it? Because honestly, it's real. I think it's fun. That staple gun, like, oh, that is my best friend. Like, that's the staple gun. That is my thing. But no, it really is. I really do like the staple gun, and it just feels so empowering to like make something and shoot a build and just tear it apart and then look at it afterwards. You're like, wow, it's beautiful. In the mix of it, you're just like, oh my gosh, is it gonna finish or complete? But it definitely turned out great. So that is the end of the video, gems. Okay, like I said, like, comment, and subscribe. See you later, gems. If you guys like this video, go ahead. So many more videos to come. Click right here, watch the next one. It's just like, come on, do yourself a favor, just click the video. Go ahead, click it.